Success starts with who you are, not what you do. Welcome to Garner Growth with your host, Courtney, nurse first, entrepreneur, and your meditation and mindfulness expert. Every week, we fertilize your growth with education, inspiration, and mindful tools to help you live your fullest life and do what you came here to do. Tune in. We need you. What's up, fam? Welcome back to Garner Growth. This is episode 3. Last episode, we talked about the stages of growth and being able to identify where you're at in that stage and feel empowered that you know what to do versus being stuck in that trough. So the thing I wanted you to practice last week was the guided meditation that was more focused on building body awareness and being able to identify the subtle cues of what's going on, subtle cues of stress, of energy blockages, of emotional distress. So then you could really do something about it. All right. So if you did not try that meditation, go check that out. It is the last visual guided meditation that I posted. This week is going to be about overthinking. Overthinking is like, overthinking is like how do you call it? I don't want to say pandemic, but as far as like our mental health goes as a society, overthinking is pretty high up there. Compulsive overthinking. So there's a difference between overthinking, like overanalyzing, which a lot of us do. I know I do that, and compulsive overthinking. Compulsive, just like any compulsion, is when it's kind of like on autopilot. You don't feel like you're in control of it. And you kind of lose yourself in just following thoughts that sometimes don't even mean shit to you. Like they're just dragging you around in this circle and you don't even realize it. That's the most dangerous thing, is when you don't realize that you're just on a wheel, a hamster wheel. And one of the reasons I keep on pushing these guided meditations is because that awareness, like if you continue to grow in your self-awareness, you'll be able to notice like, oh, I'm thinking about nothing, but like my mind is busy. So now I'm wasting energy. I'm being drained of this energy, this creative energy, this life force from meaningless thoughts that are not adding any value to my life. And then a lot of times the compulsions are negative thoughts, which is even worse because now you're unconsciously generating negative energy, this negative frequency within your body. It's going to affect your emotions. It's going to affect your mood, your actions, your relationships, your work. So it's really important. Like, this is not to be understated, that compulsive overthinking is a mental health crisis. And part of what makes it continue to grow is our technology habits, our phone habits, our scrolling habits, continuously teaching ourselves and training our brains to not be very engaged, to consciously react, to unconsciously react to visual stimulus, stimuli. So I hope you can't hear the landscaping back there. I always try not to record on landscaping day, but I really don't know what day it is. It seems like it's not scheduled, just random. So just like we would say, you eat over processed foods, that's going to cause diseases, going to cause cancer. It's a carcinogen, right? So if we can understand that with processed foods, how can we not apply that to processed thoughts, over processed thoughts? There's organic thoughts, and then there's processed thoughts that are not natural. And by not natural, dysfunctional thinking. That's what I mean. And I've talked about dysfunctional thinking in the last episode, and we'll get more into that in this episode, because dysfunctional thinking is tied into sexual dysfunction, dysfunctional relationships, dysfunctional work flow, all those things. It's rooted in dysfunctional thinking. So if you can organize your thoughts, then you can organize everything. You have a certain flow that you're able to grasp a hold of. So what's my filler word, just in case you guys haven't picked up on that yet? So means give me a few more seconds to look over my notes so I know what I'm talking about. It's really landscaping day. I wonder if I should pause. We'll keep going. If anything, I'll put some low music over this. So when you lose yourself in thoughts, it's this non-refundable time. And I'll give you a solid example that I know you connect with. You ever been on TikTok or Instagram, any kind of scrolling thing, and you're on there for like 30 minutes or more. Some people are on there for like hours. And you catch yourself after a certain amount of time, maybe your legs went numb, maybe somebody called you and snapped you out of it, but you catch yourself like just mindlessly going through these videos. Let's share this, and at the end of it, you lost an hour of your day and that you're not going to get back. It's non-refundable. So you have these things that are this time, this energy, this attention, which is the hottest commodity right now. That's what these apps are getting from you. That's what I'm asking from you, right? I'm asking for your attention in exchange for information and something that's going to help you. So every time you give your attention to something through the media, that is the hottest commodity, is your attention. And then they sell your attention, right? It's called marketing. So your attention is the hottest thing you got, like the most valuable thing you got to others and to yourself. So if you take responsibility, take ownership of your attention, which comes through being mindful, being able to focus, then you really have reclaimed your power. You've reclaimed your ability to make money. You've reclaimed your ability to create, to be present in your relationships. So I really urge all of you to think about that. Like, who are you giving your attention to? Do they deserve it? And one of the higher risk things with overthinking, like I was talking about with the negative thoughts, right? So if you are subconsciously generating negative thoughts, entertaining them, cycling through them through your mind, you are creating a negative frequency in your body, in your mind. And you're going to see that throughout your day. You're going to see it in your habits. You're going to see it in everything that you do. Your lack of motivation, feeling bad, feeling low. Look at your thoughts. That's the root of it. And I know we talked about this in the last episode, so go back and watch that if you haven't already, because it ties together. This whole month of episodes, the next 4 episodes are going to be about your mental status. It's going to be about, man, it's like I don't prepare for this shit, but I do. What was the theme of this week? So the theme of these 4 episodes, the first 4 episodes, was really getting a hold of how you think, because that's the foundation of everything. So it's about developing awareness and then also developing habits and maybe stopping some habits that are causing you to have dysfunctional thinking. So I'm going to give you some concrete examples of how overthinking affects every aspect of our lives. So in our relationships, have you ever had this argument in your head with just yourself, but like you having it with the person that you have a conflict with, and you have all these things to say in your head? It never comes out your mouth, right? But you be thinking about it, and then you like ruminate on it, cycle it around, change up a few things, and you're literally having a whole entire argument in your head. Then when you see that person, you're going to be looking at them from that argument perspective, not from if you had spent some time to introspect, maybe understand, maybe empathize, be less judgmental. If you went in a more positive direction with your thoughts, then you would look at them with more open body language, with just a whole different reaction, right? But if you have that argument in your head, like on site, next time you see them, it's going to be a problem. And even if you don't say anything verbally, the negative energy in your presence, it's like that dark storm cloud, that is going to affect your relationship. And I know I was raised on that. Like, that is a toxic skill that we have in my family, is being that dark cloud. I remember growing up with my aunt, and my aunt's the type of person that she would never apologize for anything. She would accuse you of stealing, be hella wrong, obviously wrong, find the thing that you stole, never apologize. So it was So being raised by somebody like that, who, even when they're wrong, they still hold that dark cloud over you. You're walking on eggshells all day. Like, y'all know what I'm talking about, that feeling of walking on eggshells, where it's not you. You didn't do anything, do anything wrong, but it's the way that that person is projecting their negative energy that makes you feel tense, not safe, not comfortable. And that is emotional abuse. You can twist it any way you want, but that's emotional abuse. And most of us have been guilty of that. And so to have accountability for your emotions, your emotional state, and how you project that energy out, that is the next level of growth that we want to get to. And you can do that when you look at your thoughts and you be real about where your thoughts are leading you. Like, what kind of atmosphere am I generating? And then also, am I seeping out this negative energy into my environment, into my home, into my relationships, into my work? So the next thing, job performance. Job performance. Can you hear that? I don't know. So you think about something like with work, you will continue to think about how you're going to do it, maybe overthink the criticism that you've gotten, um, just thinking, but you didn't execute yet. So you'll take a lot of time to research and kind of use research as a procrastination, a distraction from action, right? You know what I'm talking about. And so what ends up happening is you produce a lot less and you actually like learn less. You think researching is giving you more information where you can like do something better, which it does to an extent, right? If you need to learn how to do something, I had to learn how to use this software. I had to learn how to use my phone camera. Um, those are things that, you are necessary. But if you find yourself thinking more than you're doing and realizing, oh, I'm procrastinating, then what happens is now you produce less and you gain less because you didn't experience anything. You didn't experience much. Um, so a lot of times the overthinking in work actually leads to less production, less productivity. And I mentioned this in the last episode where I was like, if I want to do a habit, like getting up and going to the gym in the morning, I'm not going to allow myself to sit there and think about it too much. Because the more I think, I'm giving myself an opportunity to convince myself that I don't need to do it or that there's something more important. So if you have this will, if you're set on doing something, you got to be like, don't make space for overthinking it. Just do it. Just do it. And the same thing with the work, creativity. This is similar as the work dilemma, where you want to do something like, let's say, for instance, this painting right here. I could, in the past, I might research Google Images to get some ideas and make a whole Pinterest board about what I want to create, which doesn't usually lead to me doing anything. This shit is blank, right? So what it did in the past, and the best artworks that I've made are actually just sitting in front of the canvas with music on, whatever I need to get my creative juices flowing, and just allowing the space to create. It happens. I create great things from that. And most of the art in my house is from just doing that process, not researching images and saving inspirations. Like, there's so much busy work that we do in our heads that don't actually lead to action, but we do it as if like it's going to make our actions more strong, more intentional. Um, and I watched this video recently about Prince. Prince was a creative machine, and one of the keys to not overthinking was that he just took the first take, or like, he didn't do too many takes. He didn't try to perfect what he was doing. He went more with the raw emotion of what he wanted to get out in the song. So that's how we can apply that and be inspired by that when it comes to our projects, when it comes to our work. Trust your gut. Do it. Learn from the experience versus trying to lean on I guess, information. Information is great, but application of the information that you have is gonna like exponentially grow your wisdom. The next thing that overthinking really affects is sexual function. I said before, dysfunctional thinking is going to lead to dysfunctional sexual, dysfunctional sex, sexual dysfunction. And this is in men, women, everybody. We often put a lot of pressure on men for having PE coming too fast, not getting hard, um, all these things that are, focused on the function of their member. But for women, we also have this dysfunction where we're not getting hard, we're not getting engorged, we're not getting turned on, not even engaged. And it's just a lot easier to fake, right? So um, with with that, you think about how is my mental state when I'm about to be intimate? There are stages, there are brainwave frequencies that are aligned with different parts, with different functions, different activities, right? When we're going to be sleeping, we might be in delta. When we're going to be meditating, relaxing, we're going to be in theta. That's more of where we want to be when we're having sex. Whereas if you're in like overthinking mode, like alpha, like trying to problem solve while you are having sex or trying to be intimate and present with somebody, relaxed, it's going to be hard to connect because you're literally overriding that function and you're not on the right channel. Not on the right channel to do what you want to do. So practicing being present and practicing being aware of thoughts just going in your head compulsively and not consciously, where you are actually thinking, you're deliberating, you're meditating, really like gaining something. And that brings me to my next point. It is really easy to evaluate overthinking versus organic thinking by saying or asking, what value is it adding to your life? If you think a lot about something, you jumping around in your thoughts, and at the end of it, you didn't gain any insight. You didn't get to know yourself more. You didn't empathize with others more. Then what was the point of all that thinking? But if you are consciously ruminating on something, meditating on something, what you're doing is you're trying to deep dive. You're actually seeking more wisdom, seeking more insight, more connection. And when you do that, you actually feel fulfilled. Whereas with compulsive overthinking, you might feel drained, wasted time, wasted energy. You want to reclaim all that. But when you're consciously thinking, organically thinking, then you actually gain something out of it. It enriches you, it nourishes you. So those are the things that the kind of cues that we want to look for is how do we feel after having these bouts of overthinking? And if you notice that you are feeling drained, you're feeling tired, you're feeling more confused, then that's when you check it. And I have a, a tip for that because I also deal with a lot of overthinking. I would say a lot less now than I did before because of meditation and because of being aware that, like, yo, I'm over here wasting my time. But you know what does it? What gets me back into overthinking is emotional distress. Like, if my emotions are involved, intense emotions, usually with the relationship, then it's easier for me to lose myself in the overthinking because I also have the emotional energy um, whipping the storm around. It adds some force to it, some energy to it. So in order to disempower that thought storm that I'm having, it is really a good idea to like pause, woosah, bring it back in and check yourself. And you check yourself in a loving way. It's like, okay, like let me just chill for a minute. Let me do something else. Doing an action versus doing the thinking. That's the key. So I have that in here later. I'm like jumping the gun. So the last thing that the last example of how overthinking affects our daily lives is with spending habits. Spending so easily just off of like an ad on TikTok, and it's like, oh, I do want that tripod. Meanwhile, you have like 5 different tripods. Or like, I do want that, what do they sell on there? I do want that hair. You just there's always something to want. And especially that's what marketing does is it shows you somebody that has this thing that's really enjoying it and you want to have that same experience. So then you latch on to that latch onto that frequency and then you buy that thing. Now you've gotten that dopamine hit from purchasing something, which is what we get and why it's so easy to get addicted from it. That now you're just accumulating all this shit that means nothing really. You didn't really need it. And you're draining your money. Money, I don't know about y'all, but you got to work for it. So if I use my energy, my physical, mental energy to in exchange for money, which I'm using to, maintain my lifestyle, then it's worth something to me. It's valuable to me. So I'm not going to just spend it on, gold toothpicks. Like I'm not going to just be so easily influenced. And that's what it is. It's, being easily influenced. So if you're a compulsive overthinker, compulsion is going to be everywhere, not just in your thinking. It would be compulsive spending, compulsive consumption of food, compulsive consumption of porn, compulsive speaking, not really thinking about and feeling what you're saying, just like, So compulsion when you're spending habits, if you can really look at it and edit your cart. I'm a cart editor. I love editing my cart because I'm aware that I do get pleasure from spending money. So then I'm gonna be like, okay, I'll get pleasure from it for like, a minute. Not even that long. It's not even that long, right? But now I have how long of a time without that money, because you want to think about it as like accumulated. So yeah, the thing is only $20, but you've gotten $20 impulse buys, this month that adds up. So being a master of yourself means that you're not so easily influenced. Like to me, that's like the ultimate. And I've been so easily influenced before where I got into these compulsive buying things and I'm like, I didn't even need this. And I've done it enough to like now I'm more aware and I value my money even more. So it's easier for me to edit my cart and be like, I just wanted this for a minute, but I didn't really need it. And so even with the spending is, let's say besides managing your compulsion, think about it as like there's an hierarchy of needs. So have you guys ever heard of Maslow's hierarchy of needs? It's like this pyramid, and at the top of the pyramid is self-actualization. The bottom of it is basic needs: food, shelter, survival. And in order to feel self-realized, self-actualized, you're going to have these basic needs met. And that explains a lot of times why we feel so unsafe in situations or we feel insecure in certain relationships, maybe because we have our basic needs are not met. So it's hard to feel actualized, realized. So if you allow compulsive spending to run your life, then what you're doing is you're putting cracks in your foundation of security because now you're spending more money than is beyond your means, right? And now you're not able to cover your basic needs. So you're feeling broke every month because you gave into these impulses to spend money on things that you didn't need instead of allocating it to the things that are your literal basic needs that you need to feel safe and secure. And that's just part of adulting that a lot of us don't learn, financial responsibility that we don't learn early on. Oh, I think Cora found something. She's hunting here. So we're gonna get into the biology of what overthinking does in your body, because your mind, whatever happens in your mind, does have a physical effect on your body. And so there is a biological function that works against you when you are on autopilot. So the autopilot has a function, right? There's certain things that we do enough to the point where we don't have to consciously think about it to do it. Like driving home. You can drive home and lose yourself in thought. And sometimes it's scary because you're like, yo, I was just like fantasizing about something, thinking about something totally different. And I didn't even miss my exit. Like, or like I was able to even get over changing lanes. I don't, you're able to do things on autopilot without consciously being aware. Cooking, taking a shower. You don't have to consciously think about how to take a shower. It's an autopilot thing. So it does have its function where it allows us to save brain power for things that we do need to be consciously aware of. But then when you have this imbalance of autopilot function and you're doing more autopilot than you are doing conscious functions, and you're not even engaging your brain, it's more of like a disuse than like balance, because you have a certain amount of autopilot that's good, but you don't want to be on autopilot all damn day. Like, are you awake or not? Like, are you here? So when your autopilot functions supersede your conscious functions and you're not actually engaged, life, you get used to being on autopilot. That's similar to just being in like a virtual reality, like being unconscious. Um, and so your brain does suppress certain functions if it gets used to just being on autopilot. It's going to be harder for you to break into that active mindset, that active creativity and consciousness. It's kind of like your brain gets lazy. Look at how you use GPS. GPS has made it so easy to not know your directions, not know your sense of direction, not even know how to get home without it, because you just turn this shit on. And if your phone's ever died on you and you forgot how to get somewhere, like sometimes that's a wake up call. That was a wake up call for me. Like, my phone was dead, the phone charger wasn't working in the car, and I was like, which direction is west? How do I get home? And I felt ashamed. I was like, I should know these things. So learning to like turn off your GPS and only use it for new places, for places that you really don't know how to get to, and actively learn it. Teach yourself to learn how to get there without it. Because what happens is now we have this autopilot function where you look at your phone for every single step. And a way you can get around that is reading directions ahead of time. Okay, next stop is this. I'm going to turn left at this street. That's a way for you to actively engage your brain versus autopilot, which is like me looking down at the phone for every single little step, every mile, every half mile, checking my phone to make sure I'm on the right path. It makes you lazy. You don't need a sense of direction for that, right? The machine has done it for you. And now we have even more apps and things that will do the thinking for you. AI will do the thinking for you, which in some ways is really good because you're an overthinker. So now I can have AI make an outline for me, or give me a template for something, instead of me having to first think of the template and then have to fill in the meat of it, the details of it from my brain. So now I can have AI do that first step and then use more brain power to fill in the meat of it. But it's relative. Are you using more brain power or not? So we're going to talk about dopamine. Dopamine is the hottest drug on the streets right now. It's not on the streets, it's in our brain. And it's a natural thing. It has its purpose. We feel it every time we hit a like, every time we get a comment, a notification, a message, a text from somebody that we like. And so it's definitely a part of our natural function. It's not going to go away. But there is a thing that is called dopamine overload, where just like you can have too much of any good thing, you have too much dopamine that's just now numbing you to the point where you're blindly seeking that little tickle from dopamine. It's like that was it NPC little, where people would like do things over and over, like repetitive motions. It's really mindless. But those things, like when you are distracted by that little tickle, little tickle, little tickle, then you lose sight of actually what's in front of you. You lose sight of what matters. You become addicted to things that are not giving you much except that little tickle. And that's where it's another opportunity to gauge value. Like, what am I getting? Am I feeling drained? Am I feeling nourished? So, another aspect of this cycle with dopamine and continuously following our compulsions is stress. So, you have dopamine is the positive drive, and then stress is the negative drive, but they're both driving you. So, let's say that I'm looking at my social media and I'm being driven by the dopamine for the likes and the positive comments. And then I also have some criticism, some negative comments, or I'm comparing to what somebody else is doing and comparing myself in a negative way. Also, another negative drive. That's releasing cortisol, stress hormone, also driving me to fix that, to balance that, and get some dopamine. Then I have dopamine, which is like driving me to get more pleasure, right? So you have this on both sides, you are getting this drive for things. I need to stop hitting that thing. You're getting this drive to keep seeking, keep seeking. And this is the ultimate chasing the dragon. When you find yourself chasing the dragon, it is like this paradoxical loop of push and pull, and you're really not in control. You're really not in control. And so you think about how much is being in control, being mindful, being conscious, how much does it mean to you? How much does it mean? Um, so how can you use social media mindfully? There is ways to use social media mindfully, and doesn't mean you have to disengage and delete all your apps. If you need to do I'm probably going to use a wrong word, but dopamine cleanse, where you starve yourself of those consistent hits, those little cheap thrills, and you allow your threshold to come down and balance out. This is something that happens with sugar, with alcohol, with anything. And sugar is really relatable. So let's talk about sugar. I have a really strong sweet tooth, but I don't have dessert every day like I used to. I used to need dessert after every dinner, every meal, right? And I'm talking about dessert like decadent ice cream and brownies, honey. Warm brownies and decadent ice cream like caramel and nuts. Yeah, it was a lot. And so to stop eating sweets, which is what I did, I don't buy them. I don't stock them in the house. Like, I literally have no snacks in this house. And so if I want to if I want to satisfy that sweet tooth, I got to go to the store. I got to put in some effort. I got to go buy it, spend money. I have to go do all those things. And then also, I'm going to, now that I've gone so long without the sweet, when it goes into my body, I can feel the effects of it more strongly than if it was going into my body every day and I've become numb to the effects of it. And so this happens with the dopamine, this happens with alcohol, anything that we are getting these cheap hits from. So when you consume something on a regular, you stop feeling the effects of it as obviously. And when you stop taking it in and you reintroduce it into your system, you can feel those effects strongly. So if you've ever taken a break from smoking weed, if you smoke weed, taking a break from it, and you weren't even really getting high anymore, which is probably why you wanted to take a break, or maybe you needed a job, who knows? But when you had that first hit after taking a long break, you get high as fuck. Like you are in the clouds. And that is because your body has gotten that's because your brain has gotten used to it not being there. Your threshold has come down. And so now you're going to have a more balanced reaction to what you're introducing to your body versus having a numbed reaction. And this happens with our bodies when it's when we're let's just go back. I can go on and on about this. So before we get into how to use social media mindfully and keep talking about the effects of overthinking in your body, we're going to have a message from our sponsors. So our sponsor is Green Body Wellness. Green Body Wellness is all natural body products shea butter, oils, hibiscus powder. And all these things are inspired by the natural goods, the natural resources of Africa. And a lot of times people don't even know that neem is from Africa, that hibiscus is from Africa. And not to say they're only there, they're only found there, but it's definitely one of the main sources, one of the main places that it's grown and harvested. And then other countries, like, will import it in bulk and then resell it. And so you think, like, oh, all turmeric comes from India. Like, yeah, they got turmeric too, but there's also a lot of turmeric that comes from Africa. So with Green Body Wellness, I also like to educate on the natural goods and the resources that you find in Africa. And it really broadens people's idea of the richness of Africa. Because being raised in America, you think it's just impoverished. But I think a lot of that is changing now because we have content, right? We have content showing that there's a lot of riches there. I think the next step is enriching the mindset so that we can see the wealth and build up the society, build up the land. So Green Body Wellness, go check it out. Get your shea butter, get your body oils. No fillers, no fragrances, no water, and no bullshit. All right. So how can we set boundaries while using social media, while consuming any content, while being on dating apps? You want to set boundaries before you go in. Timer, you can literally set a timer on your phone and say, okay, I'm going to be on here for 10 minutes, 30 minutes. 30 minutes is a long time to be just consuming content. So even then, like maybe 10 minutes, take a break, do something, come back to it. And it depends on where you're at. If you're in a place of deep compulsion, losing yourself in there for an hour, then set a tighter timer. Like, do what you need to do. What content do you want to go on there for? I know my sister will send me something to look at that's funny. I'll go look at it. Sometimes I don't even make it to what she sent me because something else popped up that got my attention. So setting a timer, setting a intention. I'm going on here to look at this person's content. I'm going on here to watch 5 videos, right? That's another boundary, is how many scrolls, 10 scrolls, 20 scrolls, whatever it is. Or if you catch yourself in that compulsion, be like, okay, 5 more flicks and I'm done with this. 5 more flicks. That's it. Right? After that, you count it down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Right? So, and then close it. Close it. Another thing is turn off your notifications for that app. If it's not important, if you don't have a business that you're running from the app, then why do you have notifications on there? And I'm not trying to tell you what to do, but I'll give you some ideas of what to do. And then also sharing. So I have a friend, one of my best friends. She shares a lot of videos with me. And I told her I'm not trying to consume a lot of social media and be on here for a long time. So I was like, stop sharing videos with me. Or like share, 1 or 2, and that's it. Or you can share as many as you want. I'm not going to look at them. They'll just sit there. But in order to actually have like feedback and like actually share something, 1 or 2, and that's good. So now not only have I put a boundary for myself, I've also made my friend aware of a boundary that I have, that now she is going to be influenced by and now make boundaries for herself. And by doing that, now we're both not scrolling as long. So isn't it great? You got to spread the growth, baby. All right. So we have talked about overthinking, what it does in your body. There's another part to it that I didn't think about until now, what it does in your body, because your mind is the foundation of your frequency, right? Just think of it as like the radio. So you're turning your channels based off of the thoughts that you're engaging in. And let's say that I'm on this channel where I'm engaging in negative thoughts a lot. So in my body, what that's going to do is it's going to generate these negative emotions that then are going to signal to my nervous system that I'm in distress and that I'm in distress. And what does distress do? it has your body releasing cortisol, and the cortisol is going to now lower your defenses. So I'll give you guys an example of when they give organ transplants. I read this recently that they were um, testing out transplanting female uteruses, I don't know, into male bodies. And the way that they were going to do this is they were going to pump their bodies full of cortisol, because that cortisol will lower your body's defenses to where it won't reject this uterus that is not supposed to be in their bodies, so that it'll accept it and then they can use it to grow a baby. And so I'm thinking about like the effects of them pumping somebody full of cortisol, a stress hormone. There's going to be side effects. Of course, they didn't go deep into the side effects of it, but to birth, to grow a baby in a uterus in a body that is full of cortisol, full of stress hormone, so that it won't reject something that it's naturally built to reject, which is a foreign organ, right? And it sounds really dangerous. It sounds like the fruit that it produces will be unripe in some way, unhealthy. I mean, that's a whole different conversation we could have. But yeah, cortisol. And so when you have these negative thoughts that you're entertaining and you continue to allow it to generate negative energy, release cortisol, lower your defenses, now your body is more susceptible to sickness, more influential, not influential, more easily influenced by pathogens, by anything foreign, right? So if I'm a virus and I go into a body that's more balanced, has positive energy, is not flowing with cortisol, but has like endorphins, which actually strengthen your immune system, serotonin. So this is a happy body, a balanced body. As a virus, I'm gonna be like, it's gonna be hard for me to get in that bitch. Like, it's gonna be hard for me to go in there and procreate because that's not the environment that I need. Alkalinity wise, acidity wise, that is not the environment that I need as a virus to procreate. But if I get into this body that is negative, that's like full of this lower frequency, that's probably more acidic, that has its defenses lowered, ain't got no security in this body. Like, I can get in, I can go procreate, I can go make virus babies, I can take over. And that is what happens inside a chronically stressed body. And this is going to start with your thoughts, with your environment, your frequency. So that's how negative thoughts, any thoughts, are going to influence your body. So let's turn it around, say these are positive thoughts. These are even neutral, just organic thoughts, being present, being aware, being connected to each other. Those are going to release oxytocin, endorphins, serotonin, happiness. That is going to be a different environment. And so your body will be at a more protected, less susceptible to disease, and also your mood, like you'll just feel happier. So they're not disconnected, y'all. Cannot disconnect physical health from mental health. All right. So like that's the gist. That is the gist of compulsive overthinking. And remember, this is not overanalyzing. This is compulsion, where you are being dragged by these thoughts, kind of on a wheel, where you don't feel like you're in control of what's happening in your mind. And that can really make you feel crazy. Like, it make you feel like, am I losing my mind? And then you get that self-doubt where now you're just even more disconnected from yourself. So, man, there's gonna be a lot of sounds in here from me hitting this mic. And so there's ways to strengthen your ability to catch compulsion, to be aware of it. It all comes down to awareness. That is what the theme of this month is. I can think of it. It's about building awareness, and awareness mentally, self-awareness of your thoughts, your habits, and also in your body, being able to be aware of what's happening. Sense of vibration, sense of lack of vibration, sense numbness, sense disconnection. Like, sometimes parts of your body don't feel like they're there, like they're actually engaged. And sometimes you just feel whole and complete, like everything is together in the same place versus like, scattered to the winds. And what are we going to do about that? What are we going to do to improve awareness? Meditation. Did I say I was the meditation evangelist? Because I am. Meditation is going to help you to really build that skill, develop that awareness. And it's not a skill. I would say it's a skill, but then it's also like a natural ability. Like we're born into this world connected and aware and highly intuitive and trusting ourselves. And it's socialized out. It's socialized out of us. And then we have experiences that happen that change those. It impacts how we think. It impacts our judgment of things, um, especially when things cause us pain. Something causes us pain, it's like, okay, I can't trust this shit. Let's not do that again. Something causes us pleasure. You're like, okay, I want to do more of that. And then sometimes the things that cause us pleasure are actually not good for us. Yeah. So meditation, which is not just sitting down and, breathing. You can also do martial arts. That's a physical aligning your mind and your body together. Martial arts, exercise, depending on how you do the exercise, right? You can do your exercise more mindfully, or you could do it kind of just going through the motions. One of the ways that I do my exercises mindfully is I put my mind on the muscle that I'm exercising. So if I'm doing squats, which I mostly am leg day, every day kind of person, then I'll light up that part. I light up my booty while I'm doing squats, light up my quads. If I'm doing TRX, I love TRX, then I'll light up the part of my torso that I'm engaging or that I want to engage the most. And also like tedious activities. I find that with tedious activities that require you to pay attention, and if you don't pay attention, there's a higher risk. Which, like, let me give you an example because it sounds a little crazy. Somebody that is a woodworker, carpenter, right? You are trying to cut this piece of wood. You can't afford to be cutting this piece of wood with this sharp ass saw, holding it with your hand and thinking about, what Mike said at work. You have to pay attention because if you don't pay attention, you can cut off your damn finger. So that's a high risk and it's tedious. So it requires you to have your full attention and be very mindful while you're doing that. If you, are brushing your teeth, there's not a high risk of brushing your teeth mindlessly. You can do it. And it's also like an autopilot function that we do, right? And it gives us the space to think about other things while we're still doing that activity. So that's a big difference. Tedious meaning something that requires your full attention. Otherwise, you're not going to get the same results. Like it'll actually maybe like ruin the results. So step one, let's simplify this. Step one, how are we going to override overthinking? Awareness and acknowledgement. Being aware of what's going on and acknowledging it. Like, okay, I'm overthinking this, or I am just, I'm in a thought storm right now. A thought storm is like where you're just, things are just like going and going and going, swirling around. And there's a visual that I do when that happens to me is I picture myself in the eye of the storm. So you have like this tornado of thoughts going around, and it could be gray tornado with negative thoughts. It could even be a pink tornado with positive thoughts. Let's say you like somebody and you like them so much that like they're now taking over your whole brain space and you're like obsessed with them and that's all you do is think about them. Also something you don't want because you need to get other things done, right? They'll be there when you're done doing what you need to do. The thoughts will be there, the fantasies will be there, okay? So whether it's a pink tornado or a gray tornado, put yourself in the center of that tornado. Disengage from the flow and connect with that silent, that calm that's in the eye of the storm. And you can find it in your heart center. So like putting your attention, drawing it into your heart center and breathing into it and finding like that space. It's hard to put into words, which, I'll do it in a guided meditation, but finding that space in your heart center, that's just very quiet and peaceful. And the peace from that, what I believe it comes from, is when your mind is connected to your body, when you have alignment. So it's not shearing like we talked about in the last episode, but you're now in one place, mind and body. And that's peaceful. Wherever you are, that's peaceful. That's why I like being present. Being present, it's like, it's calm. It's nice. You know, it's good here. So I Had the Storm. That's a meditation that is in the guided meditation playlist on my YouTube. So I want you to go check that out. You can pick any one that matches what you need right now. But they're all in there. There's a playlist for guided meditations, because awareness is something you need to exercise at this point. You're already exercising lack of awareness with how we use technology and things like that. So now we need to counter that, right? Counterbalance that with exercising our awareness. Step 2, practice the pause, which I feel like I already said. The pause is when you go to that center, that quietness. But really, the pause is when you catch the fact that you are doing something and you just pause. Okay, let me stop doing that. Even if I can only stop doing it for a minute, a few seconds, right? Because our attention span is going whoop. But if I can just stop doing that for a few seconds, that's a pause. And in that pause, you have gained control. You've already stopped whatever's going on. Even if you like stopped it for a few seconds, that's, it feels like a glitch, but really the glitch was you continuously mindlessly going through this thought stream and not taking a break of like conscious engagement and be like, oh, okay, what's going on? I will not be taken for a ride. So also you want to make this commitment with the pause. So make a commitment to doing something within those 3 seconds that you get when you found out that, oh, I am following a thought stream that I want to follow. Take a deep breath. Just even one deep breath is already like 3 seconds. So, and exhale slowly through your nose. One deep breath. That's all it takes. Start with one deep breath, then you can do more. Another thing you can do is, wow, that deep breath really changed my whole vibration. I love it. Snap your fingers. So if you have caught yourself overthinking, snap your fingers. It'll make you pause. Mentally, it'll make you pause. It'll draw your attention out into something that's physically going on in the present and not in the virtual reality in your head. And then also doing a physical activity in that pause. It's really short. You could snap, you could do some neck stretches, you could breathe, you can combine all those things together. So let's say I catch myself in this thought storm and I pause, right? So I'm gonna take a deep breath. I'm gonna do some neck rolls. Oh, well, that's a good one right there. We need to do more of that when we're done. Neck stretches are great. It brings more blood flow to your brain, actually. Did I ever? We didn't mention that. One more mention before I go. Your body will respond to compulsive thinking with stiffness. Because what happens is there's a lack of processing. Things are unprocessed. They're not flowing when you're overthinking because you're kind of stuck in a loop. You're not really going nowhere. You're like on a treadmill versus, running a trail. So what happens is you do get this accumulation of stuck energy, and it stiffens your body and vice versa. Stiff body is going to make it harder for the energy to flow, and then the energy not flowing is going to reinforce the stiffness in your body. So yoga is one of those things you got to do. If you're not yogaing, just do some regular stretching. Touch your toes every single day. Stretch your neck. But that stiffness is going to correlate and is going to affect circulation, blood flow. And every organ in your body needs blood. If you don't have blood flowing, you're not cleansing, you're not exchanging oxygen, carbon dioxide, all those things. Biological functions are at a standstill, kind of. And then the last one, step 3, reassess the value of your current thoughts. edit your cart. What are you getting out of the thoughts, out of the compulsion? Are you being fed? Are you being drained? That's it. And then if it's something that you're not sure, you're kind of on the fence about, write it out. If it's worth it, you'll write it out. If you are like, I don't need to be thinking about this right now, then it's not worth writing out. And step 4, how many steps do I have? Step 4 is, can you replace this, or can you interrupt this thought stream with a physical action? So we talked about practicing the pause, doing a snap, doing a stretch. But now let's go a step further. You were thinking about overthinking your work, overthinking your creative project. How about you just do it? You just do like a little tiny step. So for instance, instead of overthinking how I'm going to do my next guided meditation project, what it should be about, I'm just going to record a guided meditation, right? Or I'm just going to like look up a script that already exists and just do it just to practice. Because at the end of the day, you get more out of doing than you get out of thinking. And this is not to say don't think. Okay, we're talking about compulsive thinking, not logical, organic thinking that is necessary to make, smart decisions. And then also think about your needs. So we talked about the pink and the gray tornado. If there's an emotional need that you have that is feeding this thought storm, giving it more energy, making it spin harder, faster, making it harder for you to pull out of that and be in the eye of the storm, then maybe there's a need that like you actually do need met. Like you need to call somebody, you need a friend, you need companionship, you might need to get out the house. Isolation is what we're doing a lot more of, and it's making it easier to stay in your thought storms and to lose yourself in them. And then also to think that their reality, like that's what's up. Like your thought storm is the truth, when really it's just thoughts that are everywhere. The thoughts are in the air. We got that Bluetooth. So it's not like I wouldn't say not that they're special, but you judge, are they special? Or is it just another thought distracting you? All right. So the meditation that I have for you this week is the Eye of the Storm meditation. So I want you to go to the guided meditation playlist on my YouTube, Garner Growth, and listen to that. And then let me know how it goes for you. It really helps me to produce better meditations because they are medicine. It's mental medicine I'm making for you guys, like audio medicine. And so by you telling me any side effects, any lack of effectiveness, any just it wasn't digestible, let me know, because then I can perfect it and get better at it. Because if anybody is going to invest time in making some effective meditations, it is me, because I know the value of it. So like and subscribe if you got value out of this, which I know you did. So like and subscribe, keep this thing going, and then comment. What did you get out of this episode? What do you want to see more of? Or what's something that I haven't covered yet that you want to talk more about? All right. You let me know. Let me know if there's any, if I was your personal wellness coach, what would you like to do in our next session? All right. And remember to always lead with love and don't try to fix yourself. There's nothing to fix. Everything that you need is already there. All right. Thank you for being here. Bye.
Like, subscribe, share the growth.
If you are not ready for the day, it cannot always be